think we have enough members. We're going to go ahead and call the Valorem tax subcommittee to order. We've got one bill, I think, that's on we had two, but I think one we're going to postpone. I don't think the author or sponsor can be here. With that, we're going to hear from Representative Crow, House Bill 896. Hold on a second. Representative, you want to?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just when it's the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion to deny.
Representative Crow, do you think that motion's in order right now?
Well, sir, I would hope that he would at least give me the opportunity to waste my time telling you about the bill before he makes a motion to deny. So,
well, yeah,
either way.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is House Bill 896, LC 432151. All this is doing, so there are some very particular lots, specifically on Jackson Lake in Butts County, that are leasehold properties, are owned by Georgia Power, and the leasees do a long-term lease on the property. Many years ago, the bill was written to allow those people who have those leaseholds to file a homestead exemption. And the way it was done is they described the county by doing a population bracket based on the most recent census. All this is doing is updating that population bracket for the 2020 census, so those folks can continue to do that. It was passed back in a similar bill in 2012, and we're just updating it for the new 2020 census.
Representative Crow, I appreciate this. I'm very familiar with this. I used to represent parts of Butts County. I believe Chairman Welch, former member and friend, carried the bill the last time.
You and he were both co-signers.
Yep,
Don't
and I both got co-signed. And again, to the committee, I want to add to what Representative Crow said. It's very unique, and all this is doing is updating the code for the last census numbers so that these folks can continue to get a homestead exemption. If this is not updated, then, because of the uniqueness of it being, 99 lease, year lease with the Corps of Engineers, then those residents will no longer be able to get a homestead exemption. So very, very unique. And again, I carried this, or helped carry it with Representative Welch almost 10 years ago.
Yeah,
2 years ago. So any questions from the committee? If they're not, and with the big chairman over there, I'm going to again reiterate, this is a very unique situation. All this bill does is update to the latest census numbers, so that it's very unique to Jackson Lake, Butts County, that these homeowners that are on these leased properties can continue to get the exemption. Mr. Chairman, do you think with that very limited update that this bill pertains to, that it would maybe be appropriate for the committee to consider waiving its rule on 2 hearings?
I think that, being that you probably know as much or more about this than anybody in the room, I'm going to defer to your wisdom, Mr. Chairman.
Right.
And I think Representative Crow has expressed what exactly this is needed for and what it does.
With that, committee members, and again, this is very limited. I know that we have a 2 hearing, rule and subcommittee, but on limited, with limited exceptions, we can waive that rule. I would ask the committee consider that. Is there any objection to all right. Well, all right. Yeah. Well, is anybody else testifying?
No, sir.
All right. Well, let's first, I guess we first gonna need to have a motion on the bill first. Any motions from the committee in regards?
Move to pass.
All right. Any further discussions in regards to the bill?
I just want to make it clear. Is anybody? My question is anybody objecting to the bill at all? So like black and white. When I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So
That's right. I haven't been contacted by anybody with any objections.
Yeah, this is routine. So,
That was more not against the bill. That was more directed at me.
yeah. With that, I know we've got a motion on the floor. We've got a move to pass. All those in favor, say yay. Yay. All those opposed, like sign. All right. And with that, again, any motion for the committee to waive the second hearing rule. All those in favor. All right. All right. With that, congratulations, Representative Crowe. Your
Thank you, sir.
bill is on the way to full committee.
All right. Thank you very much.
With that, I think that is the end of the Valorem Subtax Committee.
Me. So the income tax subcommittee was scheduled to start a while later, but without objection from anybody in the room, we'd like to go ahead and begin now. So if they could start the Zoom, and if there's any members still on Zoom from the previous ad valorem committee meeting, we're going to begin the income tax subcommittee meeting now. So the first bill we're going to be calling is, I believe, House Bill 500, and Chairman Blackman will present the bill.
Chairman Burchett had to be at home today for several reasons, so he asked me to speak to the bill. We've heard it last year. We heard it last week. There is a date change, and I do have an LC number, but members of the committee, House Bill 500, LC 432275S. You'll notice the signers here are largely from rural Georgia, and this is in particular to our rural counties and investment in jobs in rural Georgia. So if there are any questions, Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to entertain them, but I believe the committee has heard, an awful lot about this bill.
And not only the committee, but the full chamber has as well. So, but Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, the committee substitute with the date changes is not online. So if you just walk us through the date changes where the committee and our audience would understand exactly what changes are in the bill that's online in the committee substitute.
Yeah, I think what you'll see is 21 has been changed to 22 in just about every instance of the bill. And, if I can give you my shorthand answer to that, that would be it. It's a renewal of what we have done for rural Georgia in the past. I'm flipping through to make sure, but I think that is consistent. Every 21 has been moved to 22. That's what I see as the change, Mr. Chairman.
So I just want to make sure all the members that understand the bill before them, all we're doing is updating the date for the applicable dates from, for example, on, I guess on page 3, line 67, for example, it will begin June 30th to 2022 in lieu of June 30th to 2021. Page
Mr.
one,
Chairman,
missing
you
it.
know, line 12, it's a 2022
go.
allocation. So that moves throughout the bill.
Exactly. Any questions from members of the committee? Everybody understand the intent of the bill? Is any questions about the bill? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. And all right, the ayes have it and the bill moves forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's the next bill? Is Petrie here? Is Petrie? Yeah, get Petrie here.
1302 is Bonner. David Knight gave it 13.
What about
1320.
you want to do the nights first? 1320. All right, if Chairman Knight, if you present House Bill 1320, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Probably one of the shortest and easiest internal revenue code compliance bills that I've done since, quite frankly, I don't know how long I've been doing these. As everyone knows, Georgia begins with the federal income tax code and basically starts off Georgia income, through that calculation, and then we add or subtract. Basically, we either accept federal code or we disengage, if you will, from federal code to come up with a final Georgia income tax. And that's what it is. It's the conformity bill. Basically, this is really one of the smallest bills that I've seen. Two big areas that are here, and again, one has no revenue effect, but one is giving the authority to postpone tax deadlines for disasters. You may hear this, the fire bill or the fire section, but basically this is in regards to disasters, allowing for the extension of deadlines of tax returns. I know that we've had some instances in the past where I, along with several others, I know Georgia Society of CPAs, Don, in the past, we've had issues of natural disasters, and we're scrambling to go through the hoops to make sure that our Georgia citizens can get an extension for the Georgia return when maybe the federal return's not, has already been called or hasn't. But we're sitting here trying to give our Georgia taxpayers additional time to file tax returns. So this I think speaks to that. We're adopting those guidelines. No fiscal change. There's several other small changes in regards to the tax exemption of bonds, particularly in regards to infrastructure, allowing these bonds to be tax exempt, and very negligible effect on Georgia revenue. In fact, over 5 years, probably less than $2.5 million or so. We've also got an extension of the interest rate smoothing for the defined benefit plans. Again, adopting that allows for, these companies, the big plans, to have a 25 average year interest rate that helps them sort of smooth the amount of contributions that they can have to those plans. With that, that's basically the changes in the compliance, the bill this year. Any questions?
Any questions by members of the committee? I see the Commissioner of Department of Revenue here today. Commissioner, do you have any comments on the bill?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Any comments from members of the audience? I see Mr. Cook with the CPAs. Any comments?
We always ask for quick passage of the conformity bill, so that's our group's position on it. So conformity is best.
But hearing no further questions to the committee, I'll entertain a motion at this time. Yep.
I move that we do pass, and I would also, if I may, just really thank Chairman Knight for what he does for us on this front. He makes it easy, and these updates kind of come through, and he shepherds them. Appreciate him and how he handles it with his background and his wisdom and knowledge that he can add to the process. But yeah, if the committee's willing to, I think we go ahead and move this today, Mr. Chairman. So I would make that motion.
All right, the motion is, we've got a motion and a second, moving this out of this committee to the full committee. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. And thank you again, Chairman Knight, for your efforts every year on behalf of all the taxpayers of the state of Georgia.
Well,
Okay. So Representative Petrie, Chairman Petrie's on his way for House Bill 1064. Mr. Chair, I think Chairman Knight, would you mind stepping over here and chairing my bill for me, if you don't
Yes, sir.
mind? We'll just swap chairs. $10.58.
all right. All right. We are working to make sure we get LC right. LC 50-0350 ERS. Is that the right?
Bear with me. I believe so.
Okay.
That's correct. 0350 ERS.
Okay. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Bring before you today by substitute of House Bill 1058, and again, it's LC 500350 ERS. This bill, the reason it's needed is that Georgia, unlike the majority of states, requires multi-state holding companies that have that choose to file consolidated federal income tax returns when they want to file a consolidated state income tax return. The current code mandates they request permission from the Department of Revenue prior to doing so. The business community felt like this is sort of complicated and time consuming, and working with the commissioner and the Department of Revenue, we come up with some changes to the proposed initial bill that I dropped that, as I understand it, clarifies concerns on both sides. And as I understand it, without putting words in the commissioner's mouth, but I understand it comes without objection from the Department of Revenue. Is that correct? All right. Well, thank you. So in short, this bill allows large Georgia companies that file consolidated federal income tax returns the opportunity to elect to file a state consolidated income tax return at their discretion without asking for prior approval. That's as simple as I can explain the bill. It's good for Georgia businesses. It does offer the ability, the Department of Revenue still has the ability to audit. It's got transparency from that standpoint. And when if there was an audit and there was a discussion or an objection, it allows the businesses to move forward through an appeals process should that need to happen. So that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions from members of the committee, or if we've got some experts to testify if that's needed.
Okay.
And
Members of the committee. Anybody in the audience that wishes to speak? Come on, Marshall. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Marshall Guest with the Metro Atlanta Chamber. I'm joined by Jonathan Feldman, a lawyer with Everett Sutherland and the state and local tax practice. So in your folders or your iPads, I guess these days, you'll find a letter of support from the Metro Atlanta Chamber for this piece of legislation. We appreciate Chairman Williamson bringing this forward. But as the chairman pointed out, with this legislation, it does create a sense of practicality from a tax planning and compliance perspective for Georgia taxpayers. And while this is a small change, it's an important change, and it will go a long ways to fostering the pro-business climate that we enjoy here in our state, thanks to the leadership of this body and for other reasons in this state. So with that, I just want to share that perspective, and then if there are any questions, be glad to answer them. And of course, turn it over to Jonathan as well.
Members of the committee, any questions? Jonathan, you.
I mean, I'll be brief. Also, the Georgia Manufacturers Association supports this legislation. Just one thing I would note is there's many states that allow for a consolidated election, and Georgia's the only one that grants the department discretion up front to grant it or not. So this would just put Georgia in conformity with the other states that allow an election to file on a consolidated basis.
Okay. Comments? All right. Well, we thank you. Thank you for your support and the business community does in Georgia, and it makes Georgia a great place to live and work.
I failed to preface the bill is hearing only today. And Mr. Chairman, I believe you realize that.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Any other members, any other guest here today wish to speak for or against the bill? All right. With that, no other questions or comments from the committee or those attending, we will adjourn and we'll swap. Oh, we got more. All right.
Musical chairs today, but thank you for everyone's patience. The final bill is hearing only as well. We have House Bill 1064 by Chairman Petrie, and I believe Chairman Petrie has joined us. So whenever he's ready, we'd love to hear his presentation of the merits of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you misspoke about that hearing only. I think we've done that before.
I'm sorry,
But I'm glad to be
I
here.
apologize. You're
Either
such
way.
a good speaker. So this is it is in.
Yeah, let's look at that. Okay.
Is this the first hearing of this committee substitute?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to mention we've got Commissioner Ross here from the Department of Veteran Services, and we have Commissioner Crittenden as well with us. So if there's any questions that y'all may need of either of them this time around, I think they'll be glad to answer them for you as well. Well, again, we did this last week, but I think everyone here is aware what we propose here is to provide a state tax exemption for up to $17,500 of income received by an individual from military retirement benefits in this state, and then an additional amount of up to $17,500 of income if that individual works in Georgia and earns an amount that exceeds $17,000, to be quite clear on that. So they have to take a new job, work in Georgia, earn over an additional $17,500. And if they do, they then have an exemption of $35,000. All of this for individuals under 62, because as everyone here knows better than I, we already exempt retirement benefits over 62 to 64 at that $35,000 amount, and then at 65,000 over 64. So that is very simply what this bill does. On the last opportunity to speak to you, I spoke of all the good policy reasons why we believe this is good for Georgia. And I'm glad to do that again if you would like me to, Mr. Chairman.
Committees, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, can you read us your LC number?
Yes, sir. LC
committees.
43-2172 EC.
Thank you. And members of the committee, that is the LC number that we have on our iPads right now. So is there any questions from members of the committee? Any online? Anyone from the audience need to, any objections or any further comments from members of the audience? Hearing no questions, what's the will of the committee? Do pass by Chairman Wiedauer and second by Chairman Williams. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, it's on the full committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That is the last measure for the day. So here, if there are no other business for the subcommittee, subcommittees adjourned.